Nice.
Waiting for it to go here. Music. Alright, I just got to do a little housekeeping stuff with the stream before we turn the music off.
Oh boy. Uh-oh. I hear some doubling.
I do that every week, Matt. It's because I go to the stream to get the link to the stream for the...
Oh, gotcha. The bat signal.
The bat signal.
Rich, you should come join us in our Slack.
Yeah, I think I tried a couple of times, but it was always you need to be in certain times, don't you? Because you only accept it.
Oh, we'll hook you up.
Yeah, I'll send you a link.
Nice, awesome. Yeah, that'd be great. Do you still have to pay for every member? You do, don't you?
No, there's free. It's free, but you only get to keep like the last 10,000 messages of like all the channels combined. So like, you say something and it'll be gone within a day.
Yeah.
You know?
No, right. You're like 10,000. Yes, that's a load, but it's not. Yeah.
Yeah.
During the Mac Pro announcement, I think there were like something like 2,200 missed messages I had in one day.
Oh,
Yeah.
really?
Yeah.
Oh, man. It's super annoying if you're trying to find something you had, but
Yeah.
and it's gone.
Yeah, we make sure to pin anything in there that's important so it doesn't disappear. Alright, sharing that. Alright. Good to go there. That's good. Alright, let me double check the site. Site is good.
Oh, cool. You've got Chris Schmidt on soon. I see.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Super cool, man. Oh, Casey and Josh. Nice. Jules as well. Andrew Price. Man.
Not Andrew
see.
Price. We were gonna have Andrew Price, but he backed out.
Yeah.
Not so much.
Yeah.
I
That's
see the notes. Oh, shame.
Have you met him?
No. I've seen a lot of his like tutorials and I've seen a lot of bits and yeah, he's all over the place, but
Yeah, he is.
I guess he's super busy all the time. Hey.
Apparently. Yeah.
Apparently. I've yet to see this.
All right.
Awesome.
Here's our pretty faces. We're going to get going here. See some people coming in. We got Jason, Dan Marino. Got that Mograph guy, whoever that is. And
Yeah, that guy's a jerk.
yeah. All right. I think we're good to go. We probably won't have the usual as much chat action as we usually have because usually we do this during the day, so people are at work and you get a lot of people.
What time is it?
It's a little late here, so we may not have quite as many chatters. Rick Bogus. What's up, Rick Bogus? Chat's working. All right, everything's good
Rich,
here.
if you want to follow along, it's just youtube.com/Mograph. And then you'll see the live stream. Hopefully, hoping that doesn't crash Skype.
What could go wrong?
Right. I mean, you can see it in Skype too, because it all comes through to
Yeah.
this little window. But
Yeah.
yeah.
It's a bit small, hey. Live now.
Dave, you got the metronome on.
That's really weird. I
Sweet.
tested it and the metronome was not on, and all of a sudden it turned itself back on. Weird. All right. I am rolling here. All right.
I am rolling on my side, yes.
Cool. Cool. All right. All right, I think we're good. Rich, are you rolling now? You can roll now.
The audio? Let's give it a go.
Yep.
Yep, that's working. It's not looped, so should be good.
All right. Cool. We're going to do a sync, so it will be 1, 2, 3, clap. So, here we go. Ready? And get your hands ready.
They're here.
All right. 1, 2,
Giant hands.
3. Cool.
Oh, the delay.
Yeah,
It's all right.
I know. It's all right.
It's all right. It'll be fine.
It'll all
why we
line
do
up
it.
in post, right?
Yeah, we'll fix it later.
Yeah.
It'll be fine.
All right, so we're going to do the intro. I'll say I'm Dave. Matt will say I'm Matt, and he's going to intro you. And when he intros you, just say, hey, what's up, everyone? Something really short, because immediately I'm going to go into the whole spiel. So I think we are good to go. Everybody ready?
Sounds good.
Let's do it.
Nice.
All right. What's up, and welcome to another Mograph Mocast. I'm Dave.
And I'm Matt, and joining us today is a legend in the Mograph field, the man himself, Mr. Rich Nosworthy.
Hi, everyone. Great to be here.
And
Awesome to be on the show.
And Mograph is a supplement to our site, mograph.com, which is a motion graphics tutorial site with tutorials, plugins, podcasts, other Mograph stuff. And on the show, we talk about everything ranging from motion graphics to Cinema 4D, After Effects, plugins, render engines, doing business, doing taxes, being a contractor, or working for the man. And you can email us, info@mograph.com. Let us know what you think about the show. Could be anything from noob to super advanced. Doesn't matter what it is. We'll try and answer it or talk about
Today's
it.
show would be a good one for super advanced.
True.
Just saying.
True. That's right. It's episode 817. I'm sorry, not 817. I wish it was 817. No, it's 187. Actually, that's the police code for murder in the U.S. So
we're gonna kill this
you're
show.
gonna be
It's gonna be
murdered.
amazing.
You're gonna be murdered today with talent.
Yeah, they do
All right.
people.
Um,
You wish.
So a couple things that we have on our week wrap up from last week. I wanted to just put out there that now officially on Amazon we do have these new shirts on sale.
It's so dumb.
Whoa.
That renders fire. So in case you want to look like the typical bot commenter on an Instagram post, you got it right there. And then also Camp Mograph updates. Do we have any updates to Camp Mograph today? Besides
just buy
buy a
tickets.
ticket. Dang
Tickets
it.
are still available. We've got them available. I think. Nah, I don't know. I don't know if I want to announce that yet because we haven't talked all about that.
Okay. Well,
but we do have some. We're probably this week, maybe next week, going to push out an email announcing all the counselors. We're bringing in a bunch of influential people within our industry to act as camp counselors for Camp Mograph. So it's going to be a lot of fun.
I think people are going to be very excited about that for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
So.
And don't forget that the contest is still going on. If you would like to get a free ticket by winning the contest, or if you'd like to get the discount by entering the contest, or if you'd like to just enter the contest just to say that you're in our Monkey Legs music video, make sure you check that out. Mograph.com/monkeylegs. And I think we're going to talk about Ableton later on in the show as well, so that'll be fun. Hopefully.
Okay.
And one other thing I wanted to mention this week that I learned about the shortcut key for snapping windows in Windows, which is probably something everybody already knows about.
Yeah.
But I always used to do that half and half screen thing and move my window over and snap it. I didn't realize you could hit the Windows key and then hit like an arrow key and move it around where it needs to go. That's pretty dope.
Yeah.
I like that.
Already.
Yeah. So you hit like if you have
stuff already.
like a
Rich,
window.
you look like you want to try it.
Right.
But like,
Yeah.
But you're worried
I don't
about
wanna
crashing
crash
Skype.
Yeah, exactly. Hands going for it. Don't do it.
Yeah. Rick is asking in the chat, where can I buy that shirt right now?
yeah, I know. I was just looking on Amazon. I don't see it. Did you approve it?
Yeah, I believe I did approve it. It should be on Amazon. Maybe I have to double check. No, I know it is. I can look right now. I wonder if you type. Well, here's the problem: is you can't put the name of a website in the title of anything, or it like rejects your apparel. So if you type Mograph, hopefully it does. Well, the problem is You got the Brograph shirt. Yeah, if you type Mograph, it's the last thing that comes up on Amazon for me. That render is Fire Tea. Yeah, yeah.
Oh, gosh.
We'll have to have our shirts actually listed on the site here pretty soon. I don't really have like an official place for that yet, but so we got the shirts. Let's see. Oh, I see. It was a joke. It was a joke because Rick said, I believe I said dope ass shirt. That's because I think that's because, you know, like that's what everybody writes on the comments and stuff.
Gotcha.
Anyway,
Gotcha.
Yeah. Anyway. I got a great idea for a video coming up here pretty soon. I haven't even told Matt about it, but yeah.
What better time than now?
It's going to be good. Yeah. Just trust me. Just trust me. All right. So not much in the week wrap up. We got a lot of topics to talk about. First of all, I wanted to just take us straight into Ravcock. What's your flavor?
What's your flavor?
So today, Octane and Redshift stuff. Rich, you use both, right?
Yeah. I probably maybe a bit more Redshift these days, but I still like have projects with Octane as well. So
are you still using V-Ray at all?
No, not really.
Okay,
no.
I was gonna say I when I talked to what's his name? Hello Lux. Holy crap, I'm totally blanking.
Tim Clapham.
Tim
Clapham.
Yeah.
When I was talking to him at SIGGRAPH or whatever, he was saying that you guys used V-Ray for the Sydney Opera House stuff. Is that right?
A little bit. This was this would have been like just over 2 years ago, I suppose. And I think Tim still had like quite a big sort of PC CPU farm thing.
Yeah.
He had access to, and so there was some stuff we used V-Ray on. I did a few tests with Redshift, but it was really early days then, so I was kind of hesitant to try and put it through that because it was also really big renders. It did work, but I was like, if I put the whole thing into this and it breaks at the last minute, it's going to be awful. So a lot of that was done in V-Ray. Some was just done in standard renderer as well.
Oh wow.
So I mean it was kind of a case that was a lot of the graphics were just like they would need to be super saturated because it was on projection. Of course. So it was more about like just the overall colors and the forms and things like that. So it wasn't we mostly used a bit of V-Ray, a bit of sort of physical. I think that was it. Tim knows a lot more about it because he was sort of saddled with rendering the whole thing out.
Yeah.
I helped out for a bit, then ran off.
So when you spoke at Node, not last year, but the year before, I think 2017, is that right? Or was it last year?
Yeah, that's right. It wasn't last year. I missed Node last year because I was visiting family back home, unfortunately. But it was the year before that.
All right, so it's 2017, and you talked a lot about Redshift at the time, which was the new hotness. It was the new hotness at the time.
Not to mention, you also did an entire training series on Redshift.
Which kind of came out about that because Tim was there at the time and he was just he said you should just try and do something for that, and so I agreed, but then I haven't recorded tutorials in such a long time. It took me like 8 months to get around to doing it, but we started it and it's been good.
I mean,
so that was all done through.
We bought them. It's a great tutorial series. It's a super great tutorial series. You
I'll
go really in depth with it. So
it's trying to sort of I guess I got into it just when it first came out or when it was still in beta, and so I was just trying to sort of condense everything I'd learned in the last 4 years, I suppose, into like one thing. So it's good. Hopefully going to get another one out still. It's been a long time. I've been busy with work, but there is plans to hopefully get another volume or two out. So
cool. See, I'm excited to learn about it because I'm like kind of into Redshift, but not totally, and I need to get the time in. And so I think Wednesday, I think Matt's got a day off, so I'm going to do a quote-unquote day off, but sit there and try and learn a little bit more. So.
Oh, nice. Yeah. Awesome,
Yeah, I was able to go through the whole first series in about a day,
Cool.
Just going through, and I had used it. I was on the beta as well, so I knew some of it. The thing that irks me the most about Redshift is dealing with alphas. Like, I hate that you have to split out the alpha somewhere else instead of just a simple click box. Like, I wish it was just use alpha, or something like that. So
yeah. No, it's a bit of a pain that I haven't actually done too much with alphas because I suppose most stuff I do these days is all sort of like fully CG. But yeah, I know what you mean. I've done a few things where trying to get like a clean alpha out of it, and it's like, oh, what are you doing?
Yeah, yeah. Well, like bringing in alphas as textures, like doing stickers or something like that, and having to split those out. It's annoying.
Yeah, it's kind of tricky as well.
So, what would you say is your reason for using Redshift over Octane?
I think when it first came out and there were like the demo videos of it, what I liked about it was kind of like V-Ray, in that you can set all your sort of samples and you can really get in there and sort of tweak your render settings. At the time with Octane, it was just kind of like you have the number of samples you can set, and there's a few other things, but it's kind of like as long as it takes is as long as it takes. And then when I started using it, it was just kind of the speed of it. And I think for production work, it's really cool. I think it's also can be frustrating as well for a lot of users, because if you're used to like the sort of snappiness of Octane's IPR, it's not really the same system. Like it's not quite as snappy.
Right.
I think it's more powerful and you can do more with it and you can push it further. But sometimes it's like people get frustrated because you don't always have that super instant feedback, I suppose. And hopefully over time, it's going to get better and better. But yeah. But yeah, for me, I think it was just the fact that I could just use it on like bigger shots and you could really get in there and sort of tweak things. And the features, I think when I got into it, there was definitely more features and things you could do with Redshift than you could with Octane. So yeah, it felt like it was a bit more my style, the way that I'd kind of learned coming from sort of V-Ray and physical and that sort of thing.
Yeah, I was going to say your background was probably... So you did a tutorial, and I got to thank you on this one because this was my first introduction really into Fusion. Was your tutorial that you did from C4D to Fusion or whatever, the compositing in Fusion? It was excellent. Awesome. It was an excellent tutorial, and so it really helped me wrap my head around that. Do you do a lot of compositing after a lot of compositing work after the fact?
Not too much, to be honest. Like, I mean, a lot of my jobs, I suppose, are either for studios. I would normally pass the files over to them, and they normally do the compositing. I don't do a lot of comping myself. Maybe for like if I'm just doing my own sort of little things and animations, it's useful. But I don't even use that many passes really these days. These days, it's mostly like maybe a depth pass, maybe some mats and stuff. I don't often like bring everything back together and recombine the whole thing. Yeah, it's kind of, I don't think there's quite as much need for it these days as there used to be. But it's still like if you've got a big shot that's taking a long time, it's definitely worth putting out passes. So
for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, I kind of use it. I use Fusion sort of like for my own stuff, but I don't really use it for main jobs because mostly studios are mostly using Nuke or After Effects. So yeah. That's still the thing I think.
It's a big difference between the two.
Well, yeah, I know.
Big
exactly.
Price point. After Effects or Nuke,
Yeah, exactly.
Depends on the job.
Kind of nothing in between. And and Fusion's good, but it's not got like the updates are kind of slow and it's not. Yeah, it feels if it was really sort of like developed regularly, I think it could be really cool. But it's still like some stuff that's not quite perfect yet for maybe a full production thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, you were using Fusion in that video from NodeFest. Actually, you were showing that off.
Yeah, exactly. Like if I'm doing like actually passes and things like that, I definitely use it because I really like just having the control of the way it sort of blends stuff together. And like you say, Nuke is just way too pricey for like a single freelancer. So yeah. But yeah.
Well, Chad Ashley actually this week on Twitter, actually, it might have been yesterday, if I'm not mistaken. What's today? No, 2 days ago. On Twitter, he asked, has Redshift become ubiquitous enough to where I can stop making material libraries for other engines, or is that a big reason to like our material collection? And I actually replied, and I was like, that's kind of the reason we like your collection, because we can use it for whatever it is. And when clients come to us, we might not necessarily be able to use Redshift. So if it's like, oh, we need this one particular...
you have to also keep in mind, I mean, what he's doing with these collections is he's coming out of Substance and then just creating, your diffuse and your reflection maps. It's all just maps, and how you use them. He's just setting them up for you ahead of time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, for example, I'm working on a project where we're using Thanos's head for an animation,
Nice.
And so, like, I went on Turbo Squid to see if there was a model of Thanos, which there was. And so there was ones that were like $200, and then there was one that was $10. And I'm like, all right, this one may be crap, but I'm going to buy it anyway. And it was all done in Maya. They had OBJs. They didn't have any C4D files, but I just brought in the OBJs and I was able to use all the texture maps, and it still looked great. It was fine.
The reason Chad is doing that, though, is for a different reason. I guess there are specific nodes and maps inside of, I want to say, well, I don't know. I don't know if it's Substance or Redshift he's talking about. Ray switches, curvatures, UV transforms.
Yeah.
Is that Redshift he's talking about? See, I don't know Redshift well enough yet to know.
That's Redshift. Yeah, okay. I agree with what he's saying, because it's like you can do so much with texture maps and Substance, but if you want to say have like the curvature of the model, it's like using the dirt in Octane.
Oh yeah, that's right.
You can use the curvature node in Redshift, but obviously that's specific to the render engine. So if you set that up, it's never going to be able to work in anything else.
Right.
So I mean, in that respect, it would be interesting to have a pack for Redshift, because you could then use all these kind of nodes that are really sort of specific and can do that kind of thing. But it's definitely not going to be easy to kind of port that to, say, Arnold or Octane as well. So yeah, I can definitely see his point though, and why you might want to do that. Yeah.
Now, Matt,
I don't know. I would think, me personally, and I love Chad, I love the GSG guys, but I mean, they want to focus on, I would think that you wouldn't want to narrow your focus in sales to one specific audience. I think you would want it to be as broad as possible.
And I think people are looking at that now because they're like, oh, Maxon, Redshift. So they're trying to figure out, like...
I'm sure there's a lot of talk about that, too.
Yeah. Now, as far as Redshift the other day, you were telling me, Matt, that you had some slowdowns with... what was it? With...
Did I? Oh, you're talking about the Cryptomat and the puzzle mats and stuff like that? Yeah.
What's the deal?
It was weird. Like, my renders were going like... 15 seconds a frame, and then I added Cryptomat and a couple puzzle mats, and it jumped up to like a minute and a half. I'm like, that's strange, because one thing I like about Octane is you just click on Cryptomat and takes no extra time. It's very nice.
Yeah, for sure. Was it like the is it like the end of the frame you were finding it, or like almost like it was writing it out, or?
I don't know. I don't know. I think it just took longer. More, the buckets went longer. I don't know.
So it actually it wasn't finishing the buckets and then sitting there for like 30 seconds.
Correct. Yeah. Huh. No, it was just slower buckets.
Weird.
Yeah, I think I mostly used like puzzle mats passes, but like Cryptomat is super useful, and we've used it on a few jobs. But yeah, I think the more you add, like, it does slow things down. I'm not quite sure why that is. I'm guessing it's something to do with the processing of it, but. Yeah, hopefully it's something they can figure out.
I mean,
it is annoying to add that on to your render time.
Yeah. And I mean, for most of the time, like, I can almost render out some of these things in standard renderer just using Luminant mats, or Luminant materials faster than I can on some of these other things. It's just like, all right.
Yeah.
Depends on what you're doing. Now, as far as Octane's concerned, we had the old Apple announcement last week, and so everybody is talking about what they're going to do when it comes to the Mac platform, to Apple and all of that.
Rich finally has to upgrade his G4, right?
No, exactly. Right. The old G4 in the background.
Yeah. No,
afford it.
We will be talking about the Mac Pro Tower here in a second, but as far as Octane is concerned, there is going to be something called Octane X, and there will also be Redshift support for the Mac as well.
Yeah.
I don't have as much info from Redshift in front of me at the moment, but as far as Otoy is concerned, he said that Otoy is incredibly excited about the all-new Mac Pro and how it will empower users. Octane X, the 10th anniversary edition of Octane, has been written from the ground up in metal for Mac Pro and is a culmination of a long and deep collaboration with Apple's world-class engineering team. Mac Pro is like nothing we've seen before in a desktop system. Octane X will be leveraging this unprecedented performance to take interactive and production GPU rendering for film, TV, motion graphics, AR, VR to a whole new level. Octane X is truly a labor of love, and we can't wait to get it in the hands of our Mac customers later this year. So there's a lot of talk about this now because I feel like while the Mac Pro Tower is getting a little bit of flack, as we'll talk about in a bit, I think something that lessened that flack a little bit is the fact that Maxon, Redshift, Otoy, everybody was like, they were preemptive in saying at the actual announcement, no, for those who are worried, here's what's coming for render engines.
Yeah.
It's like they really thought about that. So
yeah, I do think that's interesting. You know, I'm excited to see. I think that definitely keeps the Macs in our industry alive for a little bit longer. You know, and it will now continue the Mac PC debate for a few more years.
Right.
You know, which is great. Cool. And I'm excited to see where it goes. I mean, honestly, if I had $6,000 to $10,000 or 30 from what I've seen of the, you know, people talking online, if I had it just to throw away, I'd buy one. You know.
Yeah. How many? I only saw some of the presentation. Like, how many cards can you get in there if you're like fully speccing it up? Like, what's the equivalent?
I think
you know,
it's 4. Right?
I think you can fit up to 4. Yeah.
4. Right.
So,
that would
but
be like
they're
sort of
all
2080 Ti's or something. Kind of
no.
equivalent.
I don't. They can't do NVIDIA. That's the big problem.
It's but they'd have like something similar. Sorry.
It's the AMD cards. You know. Like they've got the
Fire.
I don't
not
even
Fire
know what
Pro.
they are.
It's something. Yeah.
It's Afterburner or something like that.
Well, there's also that card in there. There's that card that's going in there that's like some secret, I don't know, some secret concoction. And that one allows you to do like X amount of 8K streams at once and all of that stuff.
Yeah, I don't know.
And people aren't even sure exactly what it is. It's weird.
I think, I don't know. I don't know if it's Apple who's, you know, being a butt about it or NVIDIA who's being a butt about it, you know, but like, if they could just get them on board, I mean, you'd have more people buying cards. It would definitely be a selling point for me, you know, being able to get NVIDIA on. But if you've got all these other, then that goes over to the argument is if you've got all these companies who are getting on board with Mac and Metal and stuff like that, why do we even need NVIDIA anymore? You know?
Yeah, true.
I don't know.
Yeah.
So maybe NVIDIA might get a little bit worried. All I know is my AMD stock has been going up like crazy for the past week. So
that's all that matters, really.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, Matt's gonna have to like fully disclose every time we talk about AMD now.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Even though all he does is support NVIDIA most of the time anyway, but you know, whatever. So
it'd be interesting to see how it compares when it comes out, like the actual sort of Octane X compared to like a regular PC build of it, and if there's any kind of feature differences and stuff. But it sounds like
because
pretty
they
interesting.
were showing off some of the like the comparable PCs, you know.
Yeah, sure.
Like I mean, okay, we get that. Yeah, once you're starting to get into the 28 core, you know, Intel machines and stuff like that, yeah, you're looking at a super expensive machine, you know. But I know Apple always has a tendency to add that little, you know, that quite a bit of markup on it because, you know, you're buying a pretty machine.
Well, let's just go into this conversation then.
Yeah, let's do it.
While we're talking about it, I have some notes. And so, like, the highest end of this can possibly be like $35,000 or something to that effect, just depending on where you take it. And so there's been this whole question about, like, is it worth it? And what is it going to make you switch back? I mean, or, you know...
Do you need 1.5 terabytes of RAM? You know?
Exactly.
I mean,
do you need it? Need?
I
mean, You know, I mean, I'll always say, yeah, I'll take 1.5.
Want it.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Is it fully
say
necessary?
You have it.
There was a question that I answered in great detail on Grayscale Gorilla's Facebook page the other day, and it was, the way the question was worded, I think, is it powerful enough to get you to switch back? I'm like, powerful enough really isn't the question. It's more about like equivalency in price in the form of a PC, which for me, it's like, is there really anything that the Mac Pro Tower is doing that you can't do in a PC right now in some way, shape, or form?
I mean, it's all your apps, and it's all the operating system. I mean, you're paying a premium for the operating system, and if you like that operating system, which I do, you know, it's not worth $2,000 to $3,000 for that operating system.
For me, even like the low level is $6,000 entry, and I can build a fairly good tower for a little over $2,000. So I'm like, what you're saying is 2 to 3 times the cost is really worth it for the OS? Because that's what it comes down to for me. I love the OS.
Yeah.
But like all the other stuff, Cinema 4D, Redshift, After Effects, Fusion, any of the other things that you're going to use all look exactly the same. So it comes down to the 1 or 2 programs and maybe some hardware configuration, but mostly, again, the OS. Are you willing to pay thousands of dollars for a free OS?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's kind of when I swapped as well. It was like I loved using a Mac, and it was super hard to go, okay, I'm going to swap to Windows, but you know, like the equivalent was it was a third of the price, I think, and I had double the power of whatever was in the stores at the time, and it was like, man, it's crazy.
And EJ, for example, EJ, we talked to
EJ won't ever give
we
up.
talk to EJ about it all the time. We give him a hard time for it, but he did tell us something when we were in Colorado, which was, you know, I do these tutorials and I do A, B, and C every day. Plus, he has the eGPU box. He's like, I don't really need the kind of firepower that a lot of other people need who are doing like these bulk octane renders and stuff like that. And so for him, it's the convenience. But at some point, I think that's going to disappear. You know, at some point, it's going to be like, do you really have to go out and get this? And, you know, he actually asked, and he said something on Twitter. He said there's a major disconnect between the people who want to buy 10, 20, 80 Ti's and love building PCs, not understanding that some creatives just want a rock-solid, stable system, regardless of the sacrifice of that, which I understand. I completely understand that. But he says, I don't want to be a part-time IT person. And there's also that stigma attached to PC, you know, because, you know, people had problems with PCs back in the day, and then you get Apple and you say, oh, Apple, it just works. And now PCs, you still have problems with PCs, but I don't have much more in the form of PC problems than I did at Apple at this point. It's just being upset that they just don't have a good file explorer, really. you know? So there were a bunch of responses on that, but Barton Damer's response, and this is something that he's been telling us, he's like, I've been trying to tell EJ he needs to switch, you know? Yeah. And this was his response, which is, it will affect you as an artist. Your ideas will be prohibitive if the software is not powerful enough to process and hit deadlines. Switching to PC 3 years ago has changed the entire trajectory of already been chewed. We'd be doing explainer videos still on a Mac if we hadn't switched. So,
yeah, but that's because you were stuck within the past 3 or 4 years have been hard. I mean, it's been totally innovative. You're talking about, you know, entire new render engines that are built around completely different architectures and different computers, you know? Yes, Apple was behind on that for the past few years, but if they're going to build it back up, who's to say?
Who knows?
You know?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Billy's in the chat, and he's talking about me and EJ's Twitter beef. Yeah. Like, I mean, I get, the thing is with EJ, I get it. Like, I totally get what he's saying. But also, if he would just go through the Switch, I think he would find that it's not as big of a deal as it seems like. You know, because plus he's got a really supportive community around that is totally willing to, like, help him in any way, shape, or form, you know, to get it going, too. I think he has a lot of crashes in Octane, and we were talking the other day, I'm like, I think that your crashes in Octane honestly are eGPU related. I feel like eGPUs are just another point of failure in that system. But
yeah, maybe.
You know,
I don't know. I get crashes with all the render engines. You know, some days I'll go all day without getting any crashes on Redshift, and then all of a sudden it's like one after the next after the next. Same thing will happen with Octane. You know, it's whatever. Oh, by the way, so I wanted to give a little quote from Dave McGavran, the CEO of Maxon. When he was talking about Redshift, he said, "We're excited to develop a Redshift for Metal, and we're working with Apple to bring an optimized version to the Mac Pro for the first time by the end of the year," which is so that's exciting.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's a lot sooner than I had anticipated. You know, it's what he said by the end of the. Okay, yeah, never mind. I'm getting my C4D and my Redshift confused,
right?
Because I'm thinking, oh well, SIGGRAPH's coming soon, R20, R23 or whatever, or what R21.
R21.
Jeez. Anyway, I'm excited. I'm excited to see.
Yeah,
that.
Rick says surprisingly, the base price of the new Mac Pro isn't the most expensive Mac ever. In '88, the 2FX started at basically $10,000.
Yeah.
But I also think that, back in the day, their slogan was that it costs less and does more. That might have been costing less and doing more back then. I don't know. I don't know what the equivalent was. You know, it could have been that a PC equivalent was more. I don't know. Matt Stone said, I've been using Arnold on an old cheese grater, and it's been the most stable third-party render experience I've ever had, and was thinking about switching to Arnold. All right.
I really like Arnold. You know, I'm kind of sad to see the GPU's not really ready for, production yet, because as I've used it, I really liked it. It's like the quality of Arnold is so similar to Octane in the fact that it's like super realistic,
Yeah, for sure.
But then you also get all the joy that comes with working with Redshift, where you get, the AOV passes and stuff like that. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I was really hoping that it would be a lot better, but give it time. Whatever.
Yeah. I haven't tried the GPU version of Arnold actually. I used Arnold on a job once, but I haven't dug too deeply into it. But it is, it's super cool. It was just the sort of speed issue that was always for me.
Yeah.
Same with V-Ray though, and all that sort of GPU stuff. If you've got enough processors, it's fine. Or if you've got a farm.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. What would make you switch back? I guess is the, what would
to
a Mac?
Yeah. Yeah, to
if someone handed me a Mac,
oh man,
if someone handed me a fully decked out Mac, absolutely, that would become my main machine, and my two PCs would just be render nodes.
Well, let's say it was time to buy a new machine right now, and you had to buy a PC, but then Mac came along with something for the exact same, is it
exact same price with the exact same specs? Yeah, totally. I'd buy a Mac. I would. I don't think there's any question about it. The fact that I think it's going to be interesting to see is once everything moves over to Metal, once you've got Redshift and Octane and all these other ones working with Metal, if there's going to be any speed decrease specifically because of it.
Yeah, right.
Because you can do, I don't know, you can do cycles on a AMD machine or a NVIDIA machine or whatever, but is it going to render at the exact same, time? Are you going to have comparable GPUs in both machines and they're going to run at the same rate? I don't know, That'll
and
be
also if you were also the whole thing about if you're rendering, say you were rendering half a sequence on one machine, half a sequence on the other, do you get any visible
absolutely
noise issues or anything like that? It's another thing that's kind of a bit of a worry.
We run into issues rendering Octane sometimes just with different cards. It hasn't been lately, but a year or so ago, you'd have some that were running 1080 Ti's and some that were running 980 Ti's, and they'd give you a completely different image,
It's not so, I haven't heard of it for a while, but it used to be something I think would come up quite a lot on sort of Twitter and stuff like that and Slacks and things. So
we would have slightly different builds, slightly different cards, you know, between like a 970 and 980, but that was a little while ago. I haven't run into that issue in a while, but Evan asked if the Mac supported NVIDIA cards and the price was still the same, how would you feel? And like if I were buying a card,
that's a good question.
If I were buying a computer and it was exactly the same right now, I would do it. But it's not like if it came out right now, I'd be like, oh yeah, I'm gonna go buy it because I don't need a computer right now. That's the problem.
Yeah.
Everybody just switched, so you know.
Yeah. I think if it had been a couple of years ago when I'd just come off a Mac, maybe I would. But I've been using PC for maybe 5 years now, I suppose, 4 years maybe. And it's I kind of don't really miss it anymore, I suppose. I used to love working in Macs, but yeah, it's kind of this was a while ago now, so I've kind of switched. I don't know if I'd go back. I think
I think I could,
especially with the price point. But
yeah,
they are nicely built for sure. Like they look great and stuff.
Did you guys see that GIF of someone? So you know how you can use the AR lens or whatever and put the Mac Pro on your desk and see how it'll look?
Oh yeah.
Right.
So someone was riding the train and had the AR thing out the window, and like the Mac was just going along as they were going along.
That's great.
Awesome.
That's great. Yeah, there was a ton of memes, of course, about the stand for the monitor.
I do think that's a little ridiculous. Yeah, $1,000 stand.
$1,000.
Yep.
Yeah.
For a piece of aluminum.
The thing is, you're gonna have a lot of these studios who are just like, we don't care, we've got money. You know, we're gonna buy these really nice monitors. I mean, what's the price point
payroll,
on a,
you know?
Right.
Let's not give everybody a raise. Why don't you give every person $1,000 raise instead of giving them $1,000 stand?
Right.
You know, just saying.
I wonder who'll be the first company to make like their third-party stand. That
I already told Dave we need to do that.
Yeah.
I said we could just hire a Chinese company to build it all out of aluminum and sell it for like $50 or $100 online. Dude,
I guarantee you there's 100 people right now going to Alibaba and doing deals to make a cheap version of the stand and throw it on Amazon already. Totally. You already missed the boat, Matt.
Yeah, that's funny. Billy said, do you want a 32-core AMD chip or a single monitor stand?
Yeah. The memes are just running crazy. I've been saving a bunch of them. But man, yeah, but here's the thing: when you look at that stand, for example, and you take that mentality that they have toward the stand, and you apply that to the computer, it makes you think, okay, how much of this computer is absolutely just completely overpriced? You know, how many components of this are?
That's kind of the way they've always been. You're paying a premium for Mac, you know, and you understand that about a Mac, you know.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
Now,
whatever.
A lot of people had said, okay, maybe this is the time that we can think about doing Hackintoshes again.
Hackintoshes are always so. It's like getting an eGPU. There's always something that there's some sort of workaround, or you can't update your drivers or something like that.
Well, Rich, you've done Hackintoshes, right?
Yeah, I built one. The first time I moved from like a Mac was through a Hackintosh because I still wanted to stay with like the operating system, but it was just the cost of updating was like I can get a better system for less. And there was that website Tony Mac, still going, I think, but they post those like builds every 6 months or so, and as long as you follow along with the parts, you can build your own computer. But I mean, it worked fine, but it was just the worry of like, you know, if something goes wrong, you've got to fix it yourself, and you know, it may not be something you can fix, and especially if you're trying to use it on a job. Like at the time, it wasn't my main work machine, but man, you would be so stressed. Like if something goes down with this, or and I never updated it. Like it literally was the same operating system that I installed, and I was like, there's not a hope in hell this is ever gonna update and not break. So
that's funny.
Yeah. I mean, it was cool, but I feel like it's definitely for more people who enjoy like the hobby part of building PCs, because you need to have that kind of mentality and like drive to build it to make it work. So
yeah.
I went and did some freelance work at a company that had like 3 Hackintoshes, and one of them never worked. Like they're just like, oh yeah, we can't get this one to work. It's like, all right, you know.
Yeah. I mean, my Wi-Fi card never worked. That was one thing. It was like I no idea why. It just didn't work. I can never get it working. And I mean, that was a simple thing that doesn't really matter too much. But yeah, I mean, worst case, you can always install Windows over the top, and you could use it as a Windows PC. But then that was the whole point of you trying to build this thing in the first place. So
especially with the specific like hardware.
Yeah, exactly.
You gotta have very specific motherboards, very specific. Everything has to be.
And worse yet, like over here in New Zealand, like parts are so hard to, they're not too hard to come by, but after a couple of months, it's hard to find stuff. And I was having to shop between different stores. Like, I need to buy this, but this other store has it, and hopefully they won't sell out while I'm buying this one. So, man, yeah, it was stressful, but it worked. And I was like, man, phew. But I wouldn't do it again, I don't think.
Yeah, Glenn says in the chat, you know, it's like the diehard BMW owners. You know, they're never going to switch from BMW, even if you have to take the car into the repair place in order to just, change the oil.
It's a Jeep owner too.
Can't even do that.
I'll never have another car except for my Jeeps. You know, I'm on my third Jeep now. You know, the next car I get will either be a Jeep or a Tesla, depending on how much money I have at the time.
Right. I know.
So see how those shares do. Hey.
Yeah. Right.
Right.
All on those AMG shares.
Right.
It's funny.
Yeah. But in your recording of tutorials and stuff too, have you noticed to jump back to Redshift for a second, have you noticed that you've had any issues with like things being, how do you deal with things being outdated or changing, or because that's a big problem, especially with Redshift, because like these updates come out really quick, you know?
Yeah, sure.
The fun of tutorials.
I know, but it is pretty much, I guess Redshift is the worst because they move so quickly. There's new stuff out all the time. And the plan was to try and, as I do new volumes, to try and update at least the most important things that have changed. Being that there's been a fair few months now between the last one, that's also going to be a fair challenge. But
plus version 3.
Yeah, plus version 3 as well. So yeah, I know it's but hopefully the idea is that in the next volume potentially I could go over some new stuff, but then also potentially go over like some of the changes as well and things that are now new. Yeah, it's just staying up to date with software. It is tough. I mean, even same with Octane. Like I used Octane 3.4 for a while, then I upgraded to 4, and then so much of that was different, and I haven't even got onto the subscription thing, so I'm sure it's changed again. Yeah, I guess it's just part of being what we do, is trying to stay up to date with the latest stuff. It's a time job, hey.
Yeah. How's the Mograph scene in Auckland? How big is Auckland?
It's not huge, but it's like a small city, but it's actually pretty good now. I mean, for work, the budgets aren't huge, but there's more studios popping up that are doing more interesting work than say when I got here like 10 years ago. And when I came here, like I was trying to find other 3D people and other Mograph people, and it was near impossible. Like I'll be looking on Meetup and things like that, and there were lots of web developers and Flash developers, but nothing for like animation or 3D. But then my buddy Blair actually started like a group
for a video podcast. Blair,
exactly that one. Yeah. You guys have been on there, haven't you?
He's great.
Blair's awesome. He's a super cool guy.
I saw a tweet the other day that said there might be some new shows coming soon or something. Is that right?
Yeah, I hope so.
Yeah, exactly. He was freelance for a while, and he was super busy, and now he's got a great full-time job again now, and I think it's giving him some more time for sort of like focusing on things he wants to do. So the podcast is coming back as well, which would be awesome to hear.
That's exciting.
Yeah. But yeah, he basically started organizing this thing for Auckland, and it's actually quite a nice community now growing up. So we've got maybe about 40-50 like users that would come along to the meetups and stuff. We try and do one every couple of months, I think, depending on how busy people are. But yeah, it's awesome.
That's super cool.
It's definitely not as big as like say like over where you guys are, or in the UK, or even Australia.
Yeah, but like honestly,
it's growing.
Dallas, where we're at, there's not a very big scene. You know, most of the people who come to our meetups are like producers or something like that. You know, we'll get some good we'll get some After Effects people, we'll get some cinema people, you know.
Yeah.
But
That's
we'll
you guys are so spread out, isn't it, over the states? It's,
yeah. Yeah. Dave and I are an hour. It's a 2-hour round trip to go to his house and back.
Yeah.
Man.
So and we live in the same area technically.
And we live in the same same area.
Jeez.
Yeah.
I could fly to the South Island and back for that. So, yeah, I can imagine that's a journey.
So here's sorry. Go ahead.
I mean, I was just gonna say, you know, it seems like New Zealand and Australia are becoming this big hub for motion graphics. You know, at least it has been over the past 5 to 10 years. Like it's just grown exponentially.
Yeah, it's cool to see like more of that stuff starting to come out over here. I don't know why. I guess maybe it's things like just the time it's taken for people to sort of adopt it. Like I say, when I first came over here, it was pretty much just design jobs and maybe simple animation stuff. But yeah, in the last few years, it seems to have really sort of started to take off. So it's really cool to see that for sure. And I think maybe Australia was probably a little bit ahead of it for a while anyway. But certainly in New Zealand, it feels like it was a little bit slow to pick up, but it's definitely moving faster now. I think there's definitely more work available for like if you can do 3D and things like that. It's just
I'm assuming you don't just do work in New Zealand, you know.
Actually, to be honest, a lot of it's mainly overseas. Really, this time. I used to work for a company here in Auckland called Bunker. I actually share a desk there now as well, so I'm kind of back in that studio. So it's awesome to be hanging out with those guys again. But yeah, I do a lot of work overseas mainly. It's a few things. I've just finished a job a couple of weeks ago with a company here in Auckland called Darkroom, but they're a couple of hours north, so you'd have to drive for 2 hours north to get there. So that was working remotely, but still within New Zealand. So yeah, but yeah, I think it's still as a freelancer, I think it's still possibly a struggle to work within New Zealand only. You can get work. It's just if you can sort of get contacts overseas and you can start getting those sort of connections, it helps a lot. It would certainly be hard for me if I was just working in New Zealand because yeah. And I think potentially if you're doing After Effects, maybe there's more work for that kind of thing, but sort of like 3D things like that because it's so expensive generally anyway. Sort of 3D.
Now, what's the? There's a lot of. Okay, so I've heard that a lot of production studios are moving a lot of their productions over to New Zealand. You know, I think it was the big push from Lord of the Rings and stuff like that. That I want to say they were talking about this with the whole Rhythm and Hues stuff when Rhythm and Hues had just won for Life of Pi, and they were talking about how they were outsourcing a lot of their VFX work out to New Zealand. I don't know. I could be wrong.
I'm not sure. No, I mean, I don't know too much about the VFX side of things. I used to do that a long time ago, but I think I've been mostly doing just 3D sort of motion design since I've been over here. But yeah, I mean, it sounds likely. I mean, I think a lot went to Vancouver as well. Yeah,
I'm basically lumping you into one group of one group of people because you live in.
You know everybody that lives there, right?
Exactly. We're from Texas. We ride horses everywhere we go.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
That sounds awesome.
Yeah.
So
no, I guess okay. I still have a Redshift question. I'm dying to answer at this point. I'm just going right back to Red. I keep going back to Redshift, right? No, okay. If I am, I guess if I'm me, I guess, and either of you could probably answer this question, and I want to really like kind of come back around to my dive into Redshift starting Wednesday. Okay, should I do the beta or not the beta?
Of 3?
Yeah, isn't there a beta right now? You can get the beta, right?
Yeah,
correct.
I would
or no.
I would personally, I would say maybe not yet because it's still pretty new, and they're going to be rolling out features I think in the coming months. And at the moment, it's maybe I think the one thing perhaps at the moment is trace depth is much higher in this one. I think it goes up to the full 64 now. Yeah. I haven't actually installed the beta yet because I was just like, I'll just give it a few weeks or months and see how it goes.
Yeah, and you may run into stability issues and stuff like that. Right, you know, and that's no fun to learn on.
Yeah.
No.
I mean, if it's really bad, I understand. But like a part of me was like, well, it's not like it has to be production ready. I'm just.
Yeah, but I think it's like version, going from version 3 to version 4 of Octane. You get a few more things to do.
That's what Billy's saying.
It's not a huge difference.
Yeah. Billy says there's nothing new and groundbreaking in 3.01 yet, so I'll just hold out. Yeah. And plus, it probably makes tutorials a little more complicated to follow if things are maybe slightly different.
For sure.
Or, whatever. Yeah. And Billy does say the RTX is on, but that's not going to change your learning curve. That makes sense.
True.
Yeah.
I don't think it'd be vastly different. Like if you did install it, like you wouldn't. It's not like you couldn't follow along because most of the things are still in the same place. But it's up to you. I think I'd probably leave it for now.
To me, these render engines are all about learning the nodes, and what they do, and because it's all about theory, So how you would do something in Octane, so just do it the exact same way in Redshift. You just need to know which node is the corresponding node,
Yeah. Exactly.
And for 90% of what you do, that's it. You just need to figure out how to get those nodes to work together.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, to switch gears a little bit, and I think Ben asked this question in the chat quite a ways back. Let's talk about transitioning over to Houdini a little bit, because I'm really interested to hear about how that's been going for you.
Yeah, for sure. So I've been recently trying to get into Houdini. I guess I've been using it for a while, like a lot of people, where you just use it for a particular thing, like say doing a fluid sim or a smoke sim and things like that. But I guess for the last 8 months or so, I've been sort of trying to see if I can sort of just work completely in Houdini, like learning more of the basic stuff like cameras, lighting, animation, that sort of thing.
Even modeling?
Even modeling, actually.
Wow.
I mean, it kind of came from, we'll come back to that because that's kind of an interesting thing too. I guess it came from I think there was a job I did 2 years ago, and it was like visualizing the human spine, and it was just going to be like a model rendered in Redshift, that kind of thing. And then at the last minute, they were like, "Oh, we also need to do all the nerves and the veins inside the spine as well." So I was thinking initially, well, you could do X particles, for example, but I also thought it's going to need to be quite well art directed in terms of how those nerves are being laid out, and doing things sometimes with a sim like X particles or any particle system is kind of like herding cats. So trying to get things to work in the right way. So I'd come across a load of tutorials for Houdini, like things like volume trails and find shortest path, I think, which can sort of generate all these paths for you as just like a single process. And that actually worked really, really well. It was really nice to work in, but still the problem was going between Houdini and Cinema 4D, because although it was really quick to calculate, I'm still like transferring these 4 or 5 gig Alembic caches back into Cinema. And I was also trying to work between my work office and my home office through Dropbox. So I was just thinking like, if I just knew how to light and animate in Houdini, this would be so much more straightforward in a way.
For sure.
And so I kind of 8 months ago, I just sort of started with the basics and just sort of thought what it would be like if I could just get things going inside of Houdini. And it's been good. It's obviously initially it's super hard. Like there's a lot of new stuff to kind of deal with. But it's also I think it's a lot more artist friendly than.
Oh no!
We lost him.
He opened up the chat.
Right.
Oh, me?
Oh, there you are.
Oh,
we got you back. We
lost you just for a second.
Hang on.
No,
what happened?
Still rolling.
So it's just I found it really useful for just trying to learn the sort of pipeline stuff and just how you can sort of cache things. And as you were saying, even like modeling, like it's not something you typically think you'd want to model in, and I don't think it would be for everyone, that's for sure, because you are laying down a lot of nodes. But at the same time, it's quite cool to have your entire modeling history like available to you, As long as you're grouping stuff, it's actually not too bad. Because modeling is traditionally fairly destructive. Like you get to certain bits where you're like, okay, I've got to merge this down now, and maybe work on the next bit. So you save a copy, and then maybe half an hour later you realize you need to go back to that one, but then you have to redo everything again. So having like every sort of step of your model kind of available to you is pretty cool if you can go back to the beginning and say clone something onto like an earlier part. And you'd think it would be slow, but it's actually pretty well. Like you think because it has to generate all the stuff again, but it's very smart with the way it caches stuff. So like once you get to the end, you've still got all your history, but you know it still plays back in super fast real time. So
that's something that I've found with Houdini that I really like just playing around with it a little bit, just doing some of the tutorials where it's like, you know, simple smoke simulations or fracture simulations or something, but it's like it plays really fast in comparison. You know,
I mean,
it's like you can tweak a whole bunch of different settings and it'll still play back relatively quick in comparison to, say, working in another program and tweaking those exact same things. It'll just kind of chug a little bit. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And then once you've cached it once, it's like, oh, now I can actually watch this real time. You know?
Yeah. I mean, I would say, when you do get to do more complicated stuff, it can get very slow as well. But like any 3D program. Yeah. But what's kind of cool about it is I think each of the sort of like different nodes in the graph, it kind of caches the geometry at that level. So once it's cached, it's almost like you've baked it down to polys, say in Cinema 4D. So everything's kind of nice and fast with that thing. So I'm really liking it. And I think like using it as a 3D package, like once you get into it, it's not actually that hard. I haven't gone into like all the details of things like the vellum solvers and that sort of stuff and all the simulation things, because I can sort of come back to that later. But it's been quite cool just for like getting used to how I can use it as a 3D package, for just like lighting, cameras, animation, and that sort of thing.
And I'm assuming you're using Redshift or you know.
So that was the other thing.
It's very similar in the way, you know, for all the settings of your lights and your cameras and stuff like that. You know. Yeah,
like that's the beauty of it. I think I probably wouldn't have got into it as much if it wasn't for the fact that I already knew Redshift, and it's almost the same. I mean, the sort of the interface is different, but everything else works exactly the same. So it's cool, and it's even in some ways it's more powerful because you can have your own sort of custom attributes that you can add to geometry that you can't really do in 4D right now, but you can like wire those into shaders. So it's kind of an interesting learning curve.
Billy has a question in the chat. He's wondering if like that ceiling of, oh, okay, this is complex and now it's heavy and slow, you know, is it higher in Houdini versus something else, or is it like, does it feel about the same, or does
like,
it feel like it can handle more
at it? At Houdini,
I think so. Like, I mean, like if you're doing super simple stuff, maybe C4D is a little bit faster, but I think it's more manageable when it gets heavier, and also like the caching in it's really good. Like you can just throw down a file cache at any point and just cache your geometry out to disk and then read it straight back in. And it's all like completely linked up still, so you go back and change anything, you can just recache. And that's kind of the beauty of it, because everything's kind of super easy to kind of access still. And certainly for things like design, like research and development sort of stuff, if you want to have multiple variations, it's super easy to go back and just change like little things earlier on, and you can get I've got another friend of mine who uses it like full time, and he finds it great for just that thing alone, because you can create like 50 variations of something and try that out and see how it works. So like I say, it's not for everyone. I think if you're doing if you just need to get out some style frames quickly, it's probably easier to do it in C4D, and there's still a fair big learning curve. Like I'm sure you've seen the learning curve of different 3D software, and Houdini is like the cliff.
I have opened Houdini 6 times. 6 times and played around with it like for like a couple hours each time before I finally understood it a little bit. You know,
you have to.
I'm the same. Honestly, it was like learning ZBrush. I think for me, like it wasn't until I tried learning ZBrush for the 5th time that I finally sort of started to understand it. And I think it's kind of the same thing in a way for Houdini.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, it's pretty awesome for sure. I'm really excited about sort of getting into more stuff using that, and the sort of the ability in a way just to be able to, you can almost like make your own plugins with it. Like you can create, you got everything's so modular that you can just do kind of crazy little sort of connection. Like for example, a good example would be you could have a particle sim, and then you could, while it's still live, you can select points and you could move some over there and scale them down. You could select other points and delete them, and you could say smooth the whole lot, which in other apps it's quite hard because the particle system is just a single thing and you can't really access the individual points of it. But in Houdini, anything's just open, so it's like just do what you want. So yeah.
Grant says in the chat that you can push Houdini way further before it breaks.
I think so, yeah.
What would you say the hardest thing to get over in Houdini was compared to Cinema? Like that, just the hardest part about it for you to really just push to get to that point where you felt a little more comfortable.
Yeah, I think one thing is maybe just all the number of nodes you have available to you initially, because there's so many nodes, it's almost overwhelming. And you know, you can do everything, but you just need to know what those combinations are.
Right.
So in that respect, it was trying to sort of figure out, like say something I'm used to doing in Cinema 4D, how do I replicate that in Houdini?
Same thing that I was talking about with Octane to Redshift, you know?
It totally is. Yeah, exactly. It's that's what's taken the time. And some stuff is like harder, like things like doing spline wraps are actually fairly tricky in Houdini. Like you have to pretty much come up with your own solution, although you can download like digital assets that do that now. But yeah, there's some stuff that I love about it, and there's some stuff that's just like, oh, maybe this would be quicker in C4D, but I think it's all part of the process. But yeah, I think just sort of like trying to understand like what all the nodes do and how you can sort of apply that to the workflows that you already do, because essentially you get much slower when you try and learn a new software for a while. Like it's just trying to get through all that initial mess of how do I do this.
For sure.
It's funny. I'm watching on the video, you know, comparing. I'm on a green screen with light, with real, like real fake lights. So it's not changing here, but it's really funny to watch because it's getting brighter where you are, Rich, and it's getting darker where you are.
Yeah, it's getting darker where we are. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah.
That's funny.
I've got the sun coming round through this window, and it's going to get the same.
You're so far in the future. Okay, so the thing you were saying about the comparison that you were making, and like Matt, you were saying with Houdini, you've got this program that you open like 6 times.
Yeah.
And then you try it a little bit each time, and every time it makes a little more sense. I can compare that incredibly to like opening Ableton. Because I don't know, like in Logic and some of these other programs, they're pretty straightforward in what they do, multi-track recording, whatever, right? But when you, like Logic and Audition are pretty much the same in a way when it comes down to it. But when you open Ableton, it's just different enough where it's been kind of, over the years, kind of hard for me. Like I open it up, okay, whatever, I kind of understand it. Or this doesn't make sense, and the next time I try it again, and it just gets a little bit better each time. I think it's a good comparison. I think there's a lot of that. And when I sat down with Houdini Mark, and we were talking about his course that's going to come out on Houdini, I said, I don't know anything about Houdini, but I know what the title of your class needs to be is Stop Being Afraid of Houdini. And so I have just started like going through the footage and starting to edit this class that's going to come out in the fall, and I'm so super excited about it. Like nice. It's going to be great. It's going to be fire, yo. Fire.
Oh my gosh. So this is something that Noseman said to us. It was one of the first times we really hung out with Noseman at NAB a few years ago, where we were talking about Houdini, and he said with Houdini you don't gradually learn more about Houdini. It's like you get a concept or something, and then you go exponentially up. It's like you take steps,
stair step,
like
and keyframes.
large stair steps. Yeah.
I feel like that's super true. Yeah, it's
yeah.
Instead of
like
just
the last few months,
gradually
it's kind
getting
of got really
smarter and smarter in Houdini, it's like, okay, I get this concept. Now I can move on to much more. I understand so much more of the software.
Yeah.
So
I think it's the kind of the whole idea with Houdini is that everything's kind of like it's just lots of attributes on points. And it's almost like it's basically like a visual programming language.
That's hilarious.
Your Noseman just shows up.
You say
a rogue Noseman appears
3 times in a mirror in a dark dark room.
Oh my gosh, see, that's the problem. We all
Candyman.
That's funny. So I completely get that. Like there have been so many moments that I have worked on a fairly large project and felt like all of a sudden my keyframes have stepped up. It's not linear or anything like that. It's like it's totally stair step and keyframes on your learning curve.
It's like you understand a concept and it's like, oh, okay, I can apply that to so much more.
I know kung fu.
Yeah.
I know kung fu, right? That's funny.
But
all right, so before we move on to something else,
okay.
I mean, are we moving on to something else?
We're about to, yes.
Okay, see, I really wanted to talk to Rich about his background.
Yeah, totally.
Because I think you're one of probably a handful of people in this industry who has created a style that is very specific to you, and so many people are emulating your style, like you've got EJ does the sketch and tune stuff, the cartoony, take an inanimate object, put eyes and a mouth on it. That's EJ's style. You've got Beeple, you've got, these desolate landscapes with a giant, glowing orb or whatever in it. That's
person
Beeple,
for scale.
And then person for scale. And then you've got your stuff, which is very, it's I don't know how to explain it exactly. It's like these almost pastel colors with
awesome textures. It's the textures I love.
Textures and stuff mixed with some like machinery looking like robotic-esque stuff. It's such an interesting style. Like how in the world did you like, to me, I'm thinking pastels and wood don't go well together, but when you do it, it's like, oh, that's beautiful. Yes. That makes sense. It's almost so like you created an entirely new design style that is being emulated across, multiple platforms now.
Wow, shit.
Sorry.
No, it's like it's kind of funny to hear because over in New Zealand you feel so far away from everything else. So that's awesome to hear, man. I don't know. I mean, my background was I came from VFX, and like initially when I started learning, it was very sort of not really design based at all. It was just about like learning modeling or learning UVing and very sort of rigid concepts, I suppose. I think a lot of my works often come out of maybe just trying to learn things, and then that goes off on a tangent. But in terms of like the style, I don't know. I think I'm really into sort of like quite detailed, like mechanical things as well. But I also really love like sort of materials, interior design, architecture, that kind of stuff.
Okay.
And I've always just found it interesting when you can sort of blend those things together. When I got into sort of like 3D and cinema like many years ago, and I started getting into V-Ray, what I really loved was the fact that you could have these sort of realistic like lighting setups that you could mix, say, architecture and just some crazy stupid pattern, but it could still feel like it's sort of grounded maybe in the real world. And I think it's just kind of gone off on a tangent from there, really. Sometimes I'm always just like, sometimes I do stuff and I'm just like, this looks stupid. Like, what am I doing? There's a lot of projects that have gone on the hard drive bin, and probably may never get finished because I start a lot but don't finish all that many. But yeah, I don't know. I think a lot of it's just sort of like following like what you're interested in, and I really like vivid colors and things like that, and I also really love sort of like super dark, like machinery and architecture and things. And yeah, anytime I can sort of combine those two, whether it works or not always, is kind of good for me. But
I can see I can see the architecture background.
Look at that.
And I think that's I definitely get that now.
Yeah, Billy says he's still chasing after airspace. Yeah, airspace. I love the way you do these breakdowns too, by the way.
Oh yeah, that was actually not long after that was maybe a couple of years after I got into C4D, and it was just I was sort of trying to. I even know what I was thinking when I made this. Like
what amazes me is like when I was thinking of questions for you, my thought was, okay, I'm gonna ask him what his background in, and he's gonna tell me, oh, I started out in graphic design, because that's what we hear 90% of the time when you get a really good designer, a really good animator who's also a designer, and that's actually surprising to me that you started out in VFX.
Yeah, but then when I came to New Zealand, I was sort of moving more into After Effects and design, so the kind of job I got over here was more based on design, but then that started leading back into Cinema 4D again. So there was a bit of a VFX, a little bit of design period, and then back into sort of more, I guess, what I am now, which is 3D design crossover, I suppose.
Yeah.
But a lot of these things are pretty weird and out there, but
yeah,
it's sort of
that's what makes it cool,
kind of thing,
though.
I suppose.
Like that's the thing. Pyramid fish,
So this was kind of funny because it was like at the time this was when I was getting into doing a lot of dailies stuff. Like I'd been following people for a while, and I was like, I'm going to do this, and we all do now. And then my friend Caspian was like, we're doing this thing for Pause Fest, and it's like, do you want to do this? And I was like, okay, sure. And then obviously it set in like I've actually got to make something, and then I don't think I really thought at the time. I didn't consider too much how many people were gonna see this, and had I known, I probably would have been like, oh man, what am I doing? But
this was V-Ray.
You do this a lot. You do a lot of these like striped, I see a lot of these striped textures,
Yeah, love the stripes. Yeah, I've always been like, I guess I've always liked a lot of sort of concept design as well, and especially when they sort of mix that with more interesting kind of out there materials and things. I used to read a lot of sort of concept art books, and even like the stripe thing, I think was probably like a reference from Tim Burton kind of era stuff as well. So
I wanted to say Tim Burton, but you never know who you're gonna offend when you say it looks very Tim Burton-esque.
Yeah.
I also used to draw a lot more. I think I don't do it as much these days, but like back that breakdown you were showing, there was a lot of sketches in there, and I think it was just having time just to doodle in sketchbooks. I keep meaning to get back into that because I think some of the best ideas kind of can come from things like that. But yeah, it's sort of another area that I want to do but haven't had time for a while. So yeah. What's
kind of the background in the architecture stuff? Like, did you ever do
no,
photorealistic interior renders or stuff, or you just have an appreciation for the architectural?
Yeah, pretty much the second. I mean, I've never done any architectural renders per se, and I didn't have a background in it. I mean, it was probably more photography that I got into a while ago, especially like traveling with a camera and just walking around the city. And I just used to love just taking pictures of corners of buildings. My wife would be like, "What on earth are you doing?" Like, you'd be there for 10 minutes trying to get
this corner is beautiful.
Yeah.
the light coming through this window, and
it makes you look like the guy from American Beauty, like taking video of the bags.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Who is this idiot? But, I used to spend so long just just photographing parts of cities whenever I went traveling and stuff, and drove my wife crazy. But it's kind of what I love to do. So I think that kind of influenced a lot of stuff as well. Like I love like the composition element of 3D as well, and being able to design something and then just get like maybe 5 or 6 cameras out of it with just different sort of compositions and camera styles and things, especially when you're sort of mixing it with lighting as well, and you can sort of combine the shadows and the light and things like that. But yeah, no, I mean, there's nothing really. I never learned anything architecture wise. I follow a lot of like websites and things, but it's nothing more than like just an appreciation of it, really.
So we've all got people who we look up to, you know, who is it that you look at and you're like, oh man, if I was just that good, you know?
Oh man, like
because honestly I had a project where I was throwing the pitch out and I used a ton of your examples. I was like, really? I want it to look like this, you know?
Yeah.
And like, if I could just get it to look like this.
Yeah.
Who's that person for you?
I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of people, to be honest, and there's so many talented people out there just, you know, I'm just thinking, oh, maybe I should do more stuff like this. Like sometimes you think that maybe your stuff is, like sort of particularly caught in a certain era or something, and
right.
A lot of people are making a new stuff that looks very cool now. I really like sort of Vincent Schwenk kind of stuff that he's been doing. Nadia Diaz, she does great stuff. I follow a lot of people on Twitter, but I think there's always room for improvement. I don't know how to answer.
Right. Well, see, Matt was able to accomplish it because he went and looked up what render engine you used, and he bought it, and he was just like you.
Yeah, just like you. Yeah,
that's all you need. Yeah. That's all you need.
See, I bought the render engine, and then I bought all your training, and there we go.
Yeah.
Cloned. Your subscription model coming soon. Hey,
there you go.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Awesome. No, I mean, also like just I think it's also good just to have a look at different areas like photography and other things that aren't just motion design. Like I really like looking at textile design, photography, and just having more, I guess, areas of inspiration maybe.
Yeah.
Oh no, did we lose
It's kind of cool if you can mix things around.
Sorry, cool. We lost you for a second there on the thing.
Oh,
but,
that's all right.
It's all right. We got it recorded. We're all good.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Said something really
right. And along that lines, like in you know, doing things in other areas and things like that. I had a really good segue going, but I don't think Matt was reading along with my notes.
I'm sorry, I wasn't. I wasn't. I'm sorry.
Let's talk about Ableton for a second, because
yes,
because you've been doing it. Do you have do you post music anywhere?
Not yet. No, I've been I've got a lot of stuff saved, but none of it's really finished.
Yeah.
And I'd like to do that more, but I feel like I've still got hundreds of crappy songs to get through before I can think that good. You know, you got to get through all that stuff. I've been super into. I got into Ableton a couple of years ago. Got really into it. In fact, stopped learning any 3D for a while, and I was just like, I'm gonna learn this. But
what is it about motion designers and music?
Right?
Like,
yeah, I don't know.
Did you ever play music? Like, were you in a band?
Yeah. I used to play guitar. And,
okay, I feel like every motion designer is just a failed musician at heart.
Yeah, that's true.
I think so. I definitely failed. So yeah, that would be completely right. Yeah, I know. And also, I do find it like if you're trying to make something and if you're trying to edit something together, it's like if you have a track, it's so much easier than if you're trying to do it dry. Like having some kind of at least a song, even if it's something that you're not going to use, but just something that's got the kind of rhythm that you want to edit to, it makes it so much easier. Yeah. And
okay. Noseman said motion design is visual music. I like that. I can see that.
It's actually super true. Like when I was getting into it more and more, you start to realize, I think if you've done music and you start doing design, or if you've done design, you start to do music, you kind of realize they're kind of linked in a way. Like if you think about, say, like audio processing and like filtering stuff, it's similar to maybe doing blurs, sharpens, and levels and things like that. So
Yeah.
there is kind of like, I think it's easier if you've come from one and you try and pick up the other than if you're coming into it like completely fresh, maybe.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, you were saying you've used things like Logic before. I mean, I never actually got into anything other than Ableton. That was my first sort of foray into music design. But like Ableton does feel a lot like kind of the Cinema 4D of making music, because it's got the kind of session view and it's got the recording view, and it's actually it takes a little while to get into, but it's pretty easy to pick up. I found, but then you just have to be good at making music, which is obviously the next challenge.
See, I just use Ableton for doing things like voice stuff for the most part, or maybe editing some simple music track, like doing a cut of a music track that's already there and just making like a shortened version of it. I don't even know, honestly. I don't even know if it accepts VSTs.
Yep,
so,
you can do that.
You can.
Yeah, okay. I mean, I agree. It's really cool for that, and especially if you've got some of the packs and stuff, you can very quickly like put together like a couple of loops that make it much easier for either just editing to, or you could say send it to a sound designer and say, this is what I've got in my head. It's awful, but you get the idea, like what I'm trying to go for. You can definitely use VSTs with it. I use a lot of, I like a lot of sort of the software synths. And
wait, you're talking about
great.
You're talking about Ableton, or are you talking about Audition?
Oh,
Ableton. I may have said Ableton by accident. I'm sorry. I meant to say
sure.
They both start with an A. No.
Sure.
Of course, I know VSTs can come into Ableton, but I didn't know if you could do that with Audition because it's kind of simple in comparison. But yeah,
I don't know what VSTs
I have no idea.
Yeah. So
like plugins.
Yeah. Actually. Basically plugins. It's just like a standard. Because you can install if a VST is a certain type, and it can be accepted into different packages. So like you're just like Redshift being on different platforms. Essentially. Billy in the chat's saying that Nick from Grayscale Gorilla always describes nodes as an effect pedal board, and Joel Deadmau5. He, in one of the videos that we did, the behind the scenes, I think that we did, he was talking about the fact that it's kind of just like nodes for him were kind of like that, as it's just like patch cables, you've got a patch cable and it goes from this one to this one and this one to this one, and that's all you really have to know. That's the signal flow right there. So it was easy for him to pick up nodes because he came from that background.
For sure.
Yeah.
Because you guys have been around Deadmau5's, and he's got like the crazy. I actually ended up doing his masterclass course on music making. Yeah.
That's
cool.
But
like the section he has of his giant modular synth he's got like in his basement, like, oh man, that is awesome. Yeah.
I actually think that was originally like the master bedroom or something that he turned into his studio. It is that studio, listening to music in it is the clearest I've ever heard music in my life.
It's insane.
It is like you feel high listening to it. Yeah. It's such a weird sensation because it's just so clear. It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's hard to explain it.
Yeah.
It sounds like a fun job. How long were you guys working out of there for? It was a while, hey?
Like a week.
Well, we've been there twice. The second time
we've been there twice.
Even longer, I think.
Second time we were there for about a week. The first time we were there for a couple days.
Yeah.
So it's fun.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, he's got a lot of toys, that's for sure.
He's got a lot of toys.
I bet. Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah, man. Oh, so okay. So, is there anything that you're working on right now that you can talk about, or is it all like super secret right now?
I've recently done. I mean, everything's kind of not released yet, unfortunately. Yeah. I did a job recently with Tendril, which was awesome. It was just a project for Vizio, but I can't really say anything more because at the moment it's not been released. But that was super fun. It was working with a guy, Vitaly Grossman, who's a really talented motion 3D guy. he was kind of directing it and taking the lead on that. And then we also had Jeff Bryant as well doing lighting, Philip Pavlov, who was doing like sort of Houdini and sim stuff, and then sort of Chris Barry, who's like one of the directors, and sort of the rest of the Tendril staff. But that was a real fun project, and hopefully it's coming out soon, so we can get to show that before too long. And just been working with Scott Gearson for this year's TED. It will be released soon as well. Yeah, so Scott's been super busy, so he hasn't been able to get it online yet, but we've just finished working on that one, and that was that was another big.
Man, I'm telling you, this autoplay thing with Chrome's got to go. Sorry.
Oh man. No,
anyway,
worries.
Sorry. Keep going.
No, that's cool. So we had it was another project we've just done in the last month or so, and we had like Scott was directing it again. We had Rory McLean back again, as well as Jeff Bryant and Ezekiel Grand. So it was like the team from last year. And then we also had Jesus Suarez, Nemanja Ivanovic, and also Aaron Corbett and Jason Crowley helping out a bit as well. So it was a cool team to kind of work on it this year as well. And hopefully it should be out very soon. But yeah, we're really proud of it, and it should be cool to share it with everyone. So
that's awesome.
Yeah,
that's super cool.
Sorry, it's not available to see just yet. So that makes it completely esoteric at the moment. But it's a fun one to work on. It's always nice working with Scott, because Scott's really, really talented sort of director. He's really good at blocking stuff out, and he just sort of sends you his work in progress, which is already looking amazing. And it's just a case of kind of lighting things and things like that. So it's kind of the same as last year. So that's about it. We've just come back from Sydney as well. We went to see Vivid Festival, which was pretty cool.
How often do you get over there?
And not often enough. I actually haven't been since I first came to New Zealand, so it was like 10 years ago,
really?
which is crazy. Yeah,
wow.
we go to Melbourne quite a lot, because mainly because of NodeFest now, which James Cowan does, which is awesome. So we've been over to Melbourne like about 6 times, and this was our first trip back to Sydney. My wife Beth's never even been, so it was awesome to go over there and see that and catch up with a few people. Yeah,
that's cool.
Yeah.
Cool. Well,
and you guys are sponsoring Node this year as well, so that's
we are.
pretty cool.
Yes. Mograph.com is officially sponsoring.
Just a little bit.
Doing art, just a little bit.
Just a little. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Have the tickets gone on sale yet for NodeFest?
I don't think so, no. I know they've announced the ident competition, I think yesterday it was. Yeah. And so there's some cool stuff going on with that. I think it's normally, I don't want to say because I'll probably be completely wrong, maybe July-ish time they release them.
Yeah.
Tickets.
November 15th is the date of the actual festival.
Okay.
So let me click on tickets.
But we don't know the tickets yet.
On sale July 1st.
Oh, there you go. Cool.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, yeah, but it's a great festival. Like, we don't really have anything else like that over here. And James started this maybe, I think it was 3 years ago, and he's just doing a phenomenal thing for it over here. The captain, yes, captain.
Yeah,
he's awesome. So,
I think he's going to come on
really
the show and talk to us a little about NodeFest next month. So,
yeah. If you get over there, it's totally worth it, and it'll be the middle of summer as well, so you can enjoy the hot weather, and it's very cool.
I don't need to enjoy the hot weather.
I don't have to speak this year, which is great. I can just enjoy it,
right,
and not have to stress out about messing up.
Yeah.
Australia has been the one place that it's like everyone has that one place that they want to go before they die. Australia has been that for me.
Yeah.
It's so far, isn't it, from most places?
It's just such a trek, and it's so expensive. That's the problem. Yeah.
You need at least
I could easily afford a
one-way.
It's just getting back,
Yeah. That's what happened to me. I came over here, and then too expensive to go home. So 10 years.
Yeah.
No, it's awesome over here. It's really cool. So yeah. Cool. You get to make it over.
Yeah, absolutely.
What were we talking about?
Let's
completely
let's go do some links because we got to do some Beeple's People and Mograph recommends and stuff too. So
Nice.
Let's first of all, I had a link that's not in the notes that I did want to bring up because like I completely forgot about it. And this is Maxon put out their video this week. That's like all the fun behind the scenes stuff from NAB.
And I love that they added
karaoke in there. It's so awesome. They put the Mograph and the Mograph iDesign event. I saw Ri-Fi in there for a second.
Yeah.
I don't think I made the cut. I don't think I
right.
made the cut. I'm sad.
I'm sure you're around there somewhere.
I'm probably in the
I
booth.
made the cut.
I'm behind that wall in every single shot, probably doing something techy, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, really good video. It's a long video. It's got like all the stuff in it. So like we'll post that in the show notes and you can check out the full cut. That was a lot of fun.
People just was messaging me just a few minutes ago about that.
That's why I was reminded of it. So thank you, Mike. I completely forgot to put that in my notes. But,
yeah. It's like fantastic shot there, Axon. Because I think it's got his goose or something.
Well, you know.
Oh man.
We love seeing that goofy face though. That's the thing.
Yeah.
That's the thing. All right.
So beautiful.
So as far as